Hi everyone, GM Jared here from Nothing Venture, Nothing Game. And a while back we did a video on like top 5 rules to remember when you're a new GM to Pathfinder 2nd edition. And we had great reaction to that video. There was a ton of conversation sparked in our Discord and on Facebook and in other groups around this conversation, like what rules to remember. And at first I thought it would be people like, hey, you forgot this rule, or this rule is kind of really important. But it changed completely. The conversation changed, and this is what I love about the tabletop role-playing groups and community. People come together in weird ways. So it was really cool to see this, and I loved it. So this isn't like a reaction video to my own video, which is weird. This is more like like 5 rules to really remember when GMing, whether you're an old GM or new GM coming to Pathfinder 2nd edition or any other system out there. These are 5 great rules, and I got my phone open, so I'm gonna like peek to my phone every so often. So if you're like, hey, other YouTubers don't do that because they're more professional. I don't know if you noticed this, but I'm sitting here in my Better Ray Bill t-shirt in my house. So I'm not super professional on this. So just go along with it and relax. Let's have a conversation. Me and you. No one else. Stick around. All right, so I got my phone, and so I really liked a few of these. There's a ton I I see, like people were talking. So the first one I want to get into, like number 5, right? Like we're just gonna keep this nice and short. So I'm just gonna number them, whatever. Number 5, avoid flat no, and to more or less have the no but or the yes but. And that popped up a few times to avoid that straight flat, like no. So don't hit them with the flat no. I really like that. That's a great point. Newer games that have been coming out have been kind of toying. The Edge of the Empire it's built into their own system. Like when you roll, it's a fail, but you fail forward sometimes. Dungeon Worlds has a similar system where it's a fail, but you fail forward. And that's to avoid the flat no conversation here. Like you want to have that yes, but, or the no, but. So I'm just going to bring up a point in my podcast, not in the NVNG podcast that we play our campaign, Red the Righteous. A player wanted to use a spell to get from point A to point B. And it was Gravity Well. And they wanted to use Gravity Well to kind of like slingshot the party and everyone over to the other side. And it was small enough that it made sense. And I understood what they would want to use the spell for. But if you read the spell, it's like instantaneous, like it just pulls everything, and everyone was like, we'll agree to fail the spell, so if we all run and jump, like it will pull us and continue our forward motion. And I could have said no, rules is written. It kind of just, you have to, like, it didn't seem logical, but I said like, yeah, but it's gonna be taxing, and you're gonna have to burn a spell slot for it. And they were totally cool. Like the moment I said yeah, the party got like so behind it, and they were like, yeah, like let's do this. And it became this epic encounter, and they were just going over like a ravine, like a 20-foot ravine. And it became this whole big thing. Like, yeah, the ravine was dangerous, like piranha monsters, but it became this whole thing, and the party really latched on behind it. The wizard felt powerful, especially in Pathfinder 2nd edition. You hear a lot of conversation around like wizards early level aren't as powerful as people want to feel. And this was that moment for the wizard. The wizard was like, oh, this is my moment to shine. And that was awesome. Getting to see the players like team up and enjoy that set, like that just one thing. And it was really cool. And the wizard went into his grand details of like, it even sparked the wizard to like have this like detailed conversation about like how it looked and what was happening. And that really drove them forward. So if you want to get your players behind you, sometimes that yes, but into crazy ideas, not like off the wall crazy, but crazy ideas, really great. So number 5, yes, but, or no, but. So that's a really great one. Another one I really, really liked was communicating openly with your players. So let's say number 4. So this is being frank with your players. And I don't mean if you're frank, that doesn't count. So Frank out there, I see you. You know, it's okay to be frank with your players.
Frank!
But this is to be open and honest with your players. And this is an important one. So this goes into that whole conversation of like, even in session 0, you know, just communication is really important. And as the GM, sometimes you have to arbitrate all that communication. You have to be that line, and you can't shut down. And that's what I think a lot of people forget, is sometimes like it's hard being a GM. Sometimes you're tired, you just got off of work, school's kicking your butt, and you know, whatever's going on at home, and now you gotta sit down and you have to like wrangle cats, right? You're a cat wrangler, and that's hard to begin with, right? And you gotta wrangle all your players, and you're like, I'm so tired, and you want to get grumpy with them. Just tell them, be like, hey guys, I'm really exhausted, I need help, like please work with me in this situation. And you'll see players will work with you. Now obviously if you're doing paid games, or if you're running it for a store and this is kind of your gig, that's a little different. Obviously be open with your players, but it's a little different. Like, you know, you want to have an air of responsibility around you. But if this is just a home game, be very honest, be very forthcoming with everything. Be like, hey guys, you know, I'm just so tired today. Work beat my butt, and I just need to have a conversation with you. And like, yeah, like I just want to like play, but maybe we take it loose today. Maybe we don't really run around and worry about every single rule. Like if I get something wrong, it's okay, it's cool. We'll work forward, you know. And that's important. That's really important. You'll start to have greater games, and also it creates this scenario where the players will start to trust you more in your rules arbitering, or your rules lawyering, or whatever you want to do, because they'll know that no matter what, you've never railroaded them, or like just kind of, you're not trying to win against them. And that was brought up a few times, was like, it's not the GM, so it's kind of like a combination of like, be open and honest, but also you're not trying to win against your players. I guess that could be like number 3, right? Number 3, you're not winning. There's no winning in the tabletop RPG session that was created because of the tournament runs, where that's where Tomb of Horrors came from and stuff like that. That's Dungeons and Dragons. So there was tournament play, and the GM could theoretically win depending on like a scoring system. We don't have a scoring system. You win if your players have fun, and your players win if you, the GM, come from that session and having fun. I know a lot of times I come from my own games, and I'm like, oh man, I had an off night, and my player's like, dude, that was like one of the best sessions. And I'm like, cool, that made me feel better about like what just went down. So yeah, so be open and honest with your players. Open and honest, and don't play really late. Like if you get to that tired point, sorry, this is like a tangent. This happened in my last game. We got super tired, like it was very late in the day, and being grumpy old men, we started like bickering with each other. And at that point I realized like the session had to end, because we don't, like, that's not my style. So it was just like, gotta let it go, and keep it moving. So number 4 is communication, open dialogue with your players. Number 3 or 2, depending on how you look at this, we might get like 6 rules out of this. Math. Know how to set reasonable boundaries with your players in character creation. I think that's really important. You know, again, this kind of ties into open communication, but reasonable boundaries. Like, hey, I'm not cool with A, B, C, and D. You know, if you're taking an uncommon spell, please let me know. If you want to do something, like if you want to, every time we get to town, we're not doing a shopping montage. Like, if you guys need gear, let me know and we'll work that out. You know, like set reasonable boundaries, and that is really important for everyone at the table. It helps you know what you want to play and how to play it properly. If you come to a game and you're ready to play Conan, the tabletop role-playing game, it's out there, and suddenly everyone's like, hey, I want to make a shopkeeper who's interested in only selling fur, and the person next to him's like, well, I'm gonna play a herder, a sheep herder, and I'll sell you my furs. Like suddenly, like everyone's like, what? Like, how did we get here? I was expecting Conan and not this. Now, if you want to play that game, knock stuff out. You know, there's no wrong way to play. That's, I think, really important. So, reasonable boundaries for character creations. That's important. Set those forward, you know. And, like, also talk about multi-classing, like the free archetype options. I know some GMs out there really don't like that. I was one of those GMs, and then I played with it a few times, and it doesn't really change much. The players kind of tilts the scale to the players a little bit, not enough for me to be like, no. What really messes me up is items. Like, I love to give my players items, and yeah, sometimes I mess up. I give them like something crazy, but that's a whole different conversation. So, reasonable boundaries. Hey, listen, no androids. Playing no androids and no gunslinger.
I am not less perfect than lore.
I am not less perfect than lore.
Enough!
You might say, hey, listen, I did this in one. I said, we were playing Rise of the Lords, and Pathfinder 2nd Edition, Goblin is a core ancestry. You could start Goblin. And I said, we were a new group, new friends, trying to figure out the game. And I said, hey, listen, I know Goblin is in there, and you could take Goblin. Rise of the Lords is not the best game to start as a Goblin. We would convert it to 2nd Edition. But it's not the greatest, right? Like, don't do it, please. And everyone was like, sure, not a problem. We're not going to play Goblin. And then if you played Rise of the Lords, you know why. The first scenario that happened, Goblin attacks. So it would have been weird, right? Like, no, I'm not with them. That's them. You go get them. I'm not with them. I don't know them. You know, that could make for more fun, maybe, like, but we were, again, a new group. And I felt my players, you know, it'd be easier to integrate my players. And again, I didn't know if people would be cool, like, and how people play their characters. So everyone agreed, and there were no goblins in that campaign. Number 3, we had 2. Number 2, I know numbers. I'm a GM. I play Pathfinder, which is all numbers, and I can't count to 5 apparently. So sheesh. This one is kind of interesting. A few people recommended it, and I guess I'll put it on the list. It's a way to always keep track of what your players have done, or like NPCs they've interacted with. I know that's hard, and I would put an asterisk next to it and say, keep track of NPCs that players enjoy, and use that, right? So my players just interacted with 2 NPCs. They interacted with a shopkeep. I believe his name is Thistle Bottom, and a Tengu barmaid, and they like Thistlebottom more than the Tengu. So in my notes, I have Thistlebottom being a character that they might meet a few times, and the Tengu kind of fell away. And that's kind of important, is to remember those important NPCs that might not be important to the story, right? Like the king and the queen and the evil wizard and the necromancer who's actually a nice guy and just wants to make his own friends. You know, those are important to the story. But like the shopkeeps or the one-shot NPCs that people kind of remember that can show up again. In one of my ongoing campaigns, the players early on, right? Like I needed a good reason to kind of like bring them together, and they were at a wedding. It was a really fun scenario. They were at a wedding. They saved the wedding from giant bees. And it turned out one of the players kind of was like an alchemist, understood fashion, realized it was the perfume or the flowers that were attracting the bees, and they kind of created a perfume, and they were able to run with the perfume and spray it, and then they got the bees away from the thing, and then the barbarian just like chucked it, and the bees went away, right? So saved the day, really cool, awesome. Way later, like 2 or 3 years, 2 years later, the players on the side of the road, beaten, battered, limping around, low HP. Here comes the bridal group. They got, in the story, I think like 2 or 3 years had gone by, so they have a bunch of the couple has like 2 or 3 rugrats, and they see them. They come over with the card, and they see the heroes that helped them in their wedding, and they're like, "Oh my God, we never helped you out. Like, we never repaid you. Thank you so much. What can we do for you?" And they were like, "We just need a place of safety and rest." and they climbed into the cart and they met the kids and they were taken all the way to their next location to the town. And in that time, they were able to heal, sleep. A few of them got to sleep. A few of them stayed awake to watch for giants and stuff. And it was a really cool scenario. And they got to meet the NPCs again. They connected again because they had this really awesome connection from early on. And it was a throwaway encounter, right? Like, it was just kind of like how to start the campaign and get the players to meet each other. And all of a sudden, like, bringing those NPCs back, it kind of brought full circle. The players rekindled their own friendships with each other in that scenario. So it was really cool. And that's something to kind of remember. Remember those throwaway NPCs or those throwaway one-shot things, and all of a sudden reconnect with that. And you'll realize your players suddenly, it's nostalgia for your players. Your players all of a sudden go back to a simpler time when they were level 1 fighting giant bees. And now they're level 8 fighting giants, you know? So remember old school, remember old NPCs. And like one-shot NPCs, like throwaway NPCs that they had fun with. So that's a good one. So it's kind of like remembering your own world, and that helps. So that one's actually like a rule, but I think it's a solid one. And so that's that. And lastly, and this is number 1, and it's going to be the biggest one. It's going to be the corniest one. So I'm a dad. I'm going to eat up all the corny stuff possible. Do kids still see it corny? Did I just show my age? Yeah, it's super corny though. It's super like gushy, lovey, like happy ending story. But like, be proud of your work.
Mm-hmm. I'm proud of you. You know that.
When you sit down and you give something, be proud and just understand. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Be proud of everything you put forward, because you're the one going out there and you're GMing. And it's hard GMing. It's hard coming up with campaign ideas. It's hard coming up with NPCs. It's hard remembering rules. It's hard bringing miniatures if you have miniatures. Heck, I remember when we first started playing, I had a dry erase board and coins. And the coins were my miniatures, and the dry erase board, well, was more or less my map. And we didn't really have the markers for it, so it got really messed up. But if you try something new, let your players know, right? Communication, let them know you tried something new. It might work, it might not work. And they might love it, they might hate it, right? And that's okay. But be proud that you're doing this, because guess what? The number one thing that everyone will say is everyone wants to play D&D, Pathfinder. Everyone wants to play. No one really wants to be a GM. It's a hard seat to sit in, right? And you're taking up that role. So, hey, congratulations on doing that, first off. But secondly, like, be proud of your work. You know, if you guys are just playing, if you folk are just playing a game to have fun and relax and cool off, you'll remember that game for ages. Sometimes we sit around and we still remember the first campaign we played. And we joke about it and stuff like that. And it's cool. Those thoughts are cool, and you know, we'll stop playing, but we'll always be friends, and then we'll get together and play again. And that's kind of joyous in that. You know, it's awesome. So be proud of what you're doing. And I trust me, from one GM to another, because you're looking at this and you're like, I'm gonna be a new GM. You've already done a great job. You've taken the first steps. You know, you did it. So thumbs up. GM Jared giving you thumbs up. You know. So hopefully you agree with this. If you disagree, did I leave anything out? Let me know in the comments below. Let's start another conversation. Maybe you want to see the angry side, the evil side of this conversation. Start it up. Do it up. Let's do it. Let's get to the 5 rules that every tyrannical GM should do. That I think that would be a fun one, right? Like every tyrannical GM should do. I'm going to tell you this right now. I don't count railroading as one of them. So, yeah, let's start that one. 5 tyrannical rules you should remember as a new GM. That one's a good one. So, from all of us here at Nothing Ventured, Nothing Game, I want to say thank you for watching. I want to say thank you very much to all my Patreon subscribers. You guys are really helping us out. I hope you're loving the stuff that Jeff is putting out with all the rogue rules and how to play a rogue. That stuff is really cool. Yeah. So thank you very much. You're the bee's knees, as they say, as the kids say nowadays. Peace.